Chapter 24. Men as Merchandise.
Lovely.
And marriage and divorce and pledges and leprosy. Again. Well, we'll see. I believe it is your turn to start. Yeah, well, you gotta finish chewing. By the way, while she's finishing up with making sure that she can talk, we just hit 10 on our subscribers, which is pretty cool because I, haven't been trying to not get subscribers, but I haven't been really working super hard to get subscribers. So thank you everybody that is actually interested in staying around. It's pretty nice. Would you like a drink of water? Why don't you go get a drink of water and then we can start.
Now we can actually start.
Yep.
Dear kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. We thank Thee for the good day we've had thus far. We thank Thee for the sunny weather. We thank Thee for the rain that waters the land. We thank Thee for the greenery of the summer. Please bless us all to have a good rest of our day today and be safe where we need to do and with what we need to do. Where we need to go and what we need to do. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
English is hard sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's the mixture of how many different languages? Somewhere between 5 and 50. Okay.
Something like that.
Chapter 24. Laws are given concerning divorce. Newly married persons. Let's hope that does not happen in the wrong direction. You don't get divorced before you get married, Making merchandise of men, taking pledges, leprosy, oppression of servants, and leaving gleaning of crops.
Which was what the people would gather for themselves.
Right. So when you sweep with a scythe, you make a pile, and then a person comes along and picks up all that they can, but they always miss a few strands on the ground, and that's the gleanings for people to come and feed themselves.
When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and
he took a wife. Did he take it from a man?
And it came to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanliness in her. Then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send it out of his house.
Unchastity or indecency. This is the law that the Pharisees, they would actually carry around a bill of divorcement and would slap it in front of their wife if she, didn't make the perfect meal, didn't keep up as the perfect hostess and all this other stuff. Yeah. That's why
horrible.
That's why Jesus was ragging on them so hard for being mean to their wives.
I feel heavily sorry for those women.
Yeah, it set up the toxic patriarchy that so many people complain about these days. Just sad. And when she has departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife.
And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it her in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife,
her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she is defiled. Okay, for that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. That is an interesting law, because it will bring guilt upon the land in Hebrew. I have heard of several people who have been married, got divorced, married someone else, and then went back to the first person that they were originally married to. I mean, these days it's not quite such a huge deal, but, it may be more common.
Okay, that's fair.
But it may not be quite such a huge deal. So just...
Question marks?
Yeah, that's an interesting law. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year.
Dang!
And shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken. Cheer up, be happy with. So that's an interesting one. We have a year-long honeymoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that this is more about a lot of people have a hard time their first year just getting used to having someone else in the house and becoming a partnership instead of a
Friendship or
right or just lovers.
business relationship.
Yeah. Once you become a lover, when sexual intimacy happens, it can be difficult to
Adjust.
and to form that relationship properly. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to Focus on the Family or Family Life Today, and they've said, yeah, that first year of marriage was rough. Wow, a year. Okay.
No man shall take the nether or upper millstone to pledge, for he hath taken a man's life to pledge. What?
There's an upper and a lower millstone. The one on the bottom is the one that stays stationary as a general rule.
So in the context, he's not supposed to be working at the millstone? The context is what's confusing me.
I'm thinking this is a new paragraph, so it's skipping to another topic. Let's pull this up in here. Give ourselves a little bit more modern translation.
In some regards, it can be helpful.
Yeah, it's at least a little bit better. 24:6.
Yep.
Okay. Man recently married, he must not be sent to war. Duty laid on him for 1 year. He has to stay home and bring happiness to the wife he has married. 6. Do not take a pair of millstones, not even the upper one, as security for a debt, because that would be taking a person's livelihood as security. Oh.
So
that makes a lot more sense.
It has to do with debts, not the wife. This is a completely different
this is
paragraph.
Completely different subject altogether, and I just scratched those lenses. Dang it.
Yes, you did.
Badly. Thankfully, I didn't scratch the bifocal part. So,
If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you.
If someone is caught kidnapping a fellow Israelite and treating or selling them as a slave, the kidnapper must die. You must purge the evil from among you. So
Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph and the coat of many colors.
Yeah. Both of those. The one about the millstone. Hang on, we're gonna have to answer that.
All right, you were saying about the millstone.
So, it's like today, if someone was a delivery driver or had a truck for deliveries.
Or let's go with DoorDash, dropping off delivery of food.
That's another type of delivery. But yeah, they've got a car, or they have a big truck that they use for bigger deliveries, or something like that, and they put that as collateral for a loan, and they defaulted on the loan. Well, the truck or vehicle, whatever vehicle it may be, would be taken by the bank.
Oh, but it's the company's item, not yours. Therefore, you cannot make a security deposit on that. Basically.
Well.
If I do not pay this debt, you are allowed to come and take this away from me.
Right.
But if it's the company's, that kind of doesn't work, because it's not yours to even offer in the first place.
But if it is the company, if he is the company, an Uber driver, a DoorDash delivery person, or if it's a person who has built up a delivery company, and the vehicle of whatever kind it is taken from them, then they have no way to do work, and all of their debts will be unpaid from that moment on. And the same thing here with a millstone. If you pledge top or bottom of the millstone, and they come and take the millstone because you didn't pay your debt,
you can't grind the grain, and therefore you can't pay off your debts anyway.
Right. And that's what it's saying here. Don't take a person's livelihood. It could be a horse, a donkey, it could be a car, a train, it could be, whatever it is that they use to make money, a gun, for crying out loud. If
Hunters.
Right, a fishing rod.
A bow and arrow back in the day.
Yeah, a boat. Don't take things that make a person unable to live their livelihood and be able to make money to continue paying their debts.
And then
or
verse 7,
to pay them off.
Do not kidnap, because otherwise...
Right. Don't take a person for a slave. And that probably is right after this one, because if a person runs out of the ability to pay a debt, then you can take them
and make them work for you to pay it off as a slave work.
Right. And that becomes, especially if it is treated poorly and you really do treat them like a slave and a fourth-class citizen, then that is an evil and you should not do that.
Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently and do according to all that the priests the Levites shall teach you, as I commanded them, so ye shall observe to do.
Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt.
When thou dost. Okay, it is dust.
When you do, lend your brother.
Haven't seen that one before. Anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge.
Ooh, that's stealing. Yeah, that. Thou shalt stand abroad or outside the house, yeah, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee.
Do not go breaking into somebody's house.
Right, and if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge?
Keep it overnight.
Oh, so if you are loaned something and he's a poor guy, then don't keep it overnight because he might need it before morning.
In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment, and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God.
Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates.
At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee.
That is interesting. At his day is also the same day. So if someone does work for you, be sure to pay him that day so that they don't come and go, dude, I need this money. There's a
like if you hire somebody to babysit or mow your lawn, you pay them
or dig a ditch, or you split some wood, or gather some hay,
Yep.
Whatever it may be. I worked for a company that had they made a decision that really wasn't good, and it is the exact opposite of this, that they would not always pay their bills for 90 days. As a general rule, across most contracts, it's a 30-day payment. You receive it, you have 4 weeks to pay us back. Well, this company had decided, well, we're going to wait 3 months. And they literally had people say, sorry, you haven't paid me in the last 2 months. I'm not going to deliver anything else to you. Pay me now. And that's exactly what it's saying here. They will cry against thee. I mean, in that case, it isn't the Lord, but it's just, dude, you've got all this money you're earning interest on, and you've got quite a bit of money. Pay me.
I work for you, give me, and I have a livelihood.
I have provided for you, and you are earning money off of me. I need to be able to pay my debts.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah.
That's just not good.
But in this case, it's day to day. If you hire someone, you need to be ready and able to pay them immediately, because they might not be able to feed their family that day if you don't pay them, because they're poor. And they're hiring out because they're poor. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for their fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. That is an interesting...
We believe that man will be punished for his own sin,
right,
and not for Adam's transgression. It's in the Bible.
Yeah, that's wow. I had never... Cool. That's powerful.
Definitely.
You don't blame someone else
for your own shortcomings.
Yeah, and that goes back to the last chapter where the severely rebellious children could be put to death for severely rebelling. We're not talking, I don't want to do that. Well, come on, let's just go do it anyhow. Okay, I'll do it. We're talking, I'm going to kill you if you try to make you do it. Fine, you're going to die. Yeah. That's okay.
And that also means the kids can't point fingers, but he made me do it. You were the one who said yes. You were the one that did it in the end.
Right.
It is your fault.
Right.
The fathers shall not be put to death for the children.
Yeah,
my bad. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor of the fatherless. I don't know why I couldn't say that all of a sudden. Nor take a widow's raiment to pledge.
Ooh, that could be horrible. You have only one change of clothes. I'll take it. That
makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. People, the fact that that's even said says that somebody had done that.
Yep. It's always funny because even nowadays you can find videos and pictures of them saying very specific and weird, concerning warnings. Do not do this. And you have to wonder, why would somebody have done that? Because if it's a warning, it means at least one person or a few have done it in the past. Where's your common sense, people?
Oh, yeah. There are some weird ones out there. Warning. Don't poke the bear. You know, in some cases it's that blatant. In some cases it's...
Do not siphon gas with your mouth.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's...
Someone has siphoned gas with their mouth?
Yes!
I do it all the time.
But if you're doing it at a public gas pump,
it's not a good idea. You really have to know what you're doing, and you really have to watch it with a clear hose to make sure that it doesn't come up to your mouth, because putting it in your mouth is really nasty.
And you've done that once.
Yeah, I swallowed it too.
There are so many warning labels that it's like...
What's the story behind
to cause this? Like,
Yeah.
Please don't poop in rocks. We can't believe we had to make this sign.
There's this one channel, Refashioned Hippie, and she puts up some that are warning signs. What happened here? Her shorts. Oh man, there's some that are like, we don't want Jason to work here anymore, or Jason doesn't work here anymore, or, you know, whatever it may be. And she's like, what happened here? She's got some great moments to share. Okay, don't pervert judgment of the stranger. Don't bribe someone. Don't connive and
Don't steal the clothes of a lady.
Well, that's separate. That's another sentence. But the stranger being someone who isn't from the... There was a Andy Griffith's show. No, it was I Dream of Jeannie. Maybe they've done it in both. Anyhow, the I Dream of Jeannie one was fun. They had... they pulled into a gas station because, you know, they're traveling somewhere, and they, like, you know, tapped a bumper, and the guy's like, you recognize them? And the wife's like, no. And he falls out and is all, ah! And they get arrested, they get taken to jail, and I don't remember the whole thing, but in the end, Jeannie gets upset, and she throws this guy across the courtroom who's all bound up in cast. I mean, head to foot, or neck to foot, and he punches the wall, and all the casts break off, and
He stands.
His wife comes over and says, are you okay? Is anything broken? No, I think I'm fine. Oops.
You're in a courtroom because you broke a few things, but if you didn't break anything just now, and
you're just fine.
and you're not screaming in pain.
Right. I think this court case got thrown out. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
I've heard a similar story that actually happened in real life.
Oh no.
Person is in court for stealing or money laundering, and they can't find
Do you know what that
evidence.
means?
Not really.
It means that you take Typically money that is gotten illegally or has something to hint that it was used for an illegal purpose, and you share it out by small amounts.
Okay. So what the guy is there for stealing or money laundering,
Right.
one of the two, and he's in court for it, but he's about to get freed because they can't find evidence of this money anywhere or anything.
Oh,
And
no.
then the guy, this is why you never speak without the clearance of your lawyer, and you be careful what you say in court. They don't know I have it in my second account. Say what now?
And he got slammed to...
Yep.
Oh, that's so bad.
Always be careful what you say in a courtroom.
Yeah, don't. Somebody was in court because they were spreading illegal money around.
They were either acquiring it or spreading it, one of the two.
Right. And the court case is just about to be dismissed, and the judge is going to bang the gavel, and the guy says, they don't know I have it in my second account. And everybody in the courtroom hears him, and the judge is like,
Excuse me?
would you mind saying that again?
That's the moment you're like, oh shoot, I'm screwed no matter what the heck I say.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. We have it on camera.
You can't deny it any longer.
Which second account? Shall we go look? How many accounts do you have?
Beyond that statement of him saying that, I have no idea what happened next.
Yeah, but it's obvious that he did not get free on that
No,
one.
I think there was one extra line where the attorney goes,
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
or also is like, I'm not helping you anymore.
Yeah. Okay, don't pervert judgment. Don't bribe the judge. Don't lie about stuff so that you get a judgment for you rather than for someone else.
Yeah.
And then
Blackmail.
Well, that too. That's part of it.
Same in the category.
Yeah, it's sort of, but anyhow, that's not in a courtroom. That's keeping people from going to court. But
That's fair.
don't take from people who don't have a husband to take care of them is what the widow's raiment is boiling down to. It's not so much about whether or not you take her clothes, which would be a horrible thing to do anyhow, but don't take from someone who doesn't have the ability to support themselves, because in that society, not having a man was a really hard way to live.
Yep.
Okay, but thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, a slave, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing.
When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. So if you gather up a bunch of wheat in this,
Right. You have an acre of ground, or more or less, and you go out and you harvest it, and then you go out and you after you have cut it all down, you gather it and put it on the cart. If some falls off the cart, or if you don't pick up 100% of everything that you had in the bundle, leave it, because that's the gleanings that's the welfare program for the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I kicked the thing again.
Yeah. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, and for the fatherless, and for the widow. And,
Don't shake the tree more than...
right. And I read a story one time about a couple of girls who their father had plum trees or something, and after the harvest was done, when they'd gotten all that they could the first time, they found some plums that had fallen on the ground or were still falling from the tree, and they went to their dad and said, "Hey, we'd like to see what we can get." And he's like, "Well, if you can get," I don't remember, it was somewhere over 5 or 10 buckets, I'll be happy to start up all the machinery and sell the ones that you have, and coat them and prepare them for sale. Mm-hmm. And so they went out and they worked for a week or two, and they shook all of the trees, and they got themselves 20 or something buckets, and they were able to save up some money because they wanted to get a donkey or something. So this is what that is. The main harvest, you're always going to have some that won't pull off easily, or else you miss them because we're human. We make mistakes. We miss things. And so this is for the fatherless and the widows to, again, this is the God's welfare program for back then. If you want to survive, you're going to come and glean.
When thou gatherest the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow.
And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. And this works both ways. It gives people the ability to take care of others, and it also gives those who need to be taken care of the ability to say, hey, I'm not taking this for nothing. I'm not being a free rider, a freeloader. I'm working for myself, and I'm taking care of what I can. There's a lot of levels to this, and it's really actually a very beautiful system for that's not very long, for welfare, because the people are able to have honor on both sides of it. Whereas so many people these days, they just say, well, give me what you got, and it's not an honorable or worthwhile thing to have. So
it would be great for everyone to grow a little bit of their own crops and share the extra bounty with those in need.
There's the what's the movie? It's a anime, Children of the Wolf. I bought it.
Oh yeah, the Wolf Children.
Wolf Children. Okay. By about halfway through the movie, the ending is absolutely no surprise, but it's a really neat story about a mom who marries a wolf man, and has children. And long story short, they go out into the country, and this one guy who's their mentor, they plant a field, and it will probably take care of them just fine with potatoes or something.
Yeah, it was potatoes.
And then he says to the woman, now do the next field. She's like, this will be plenty for us. Just do it. Okay. So she plants it, prepares it and plants it, and she has a very nice crop. And then she takes her extras to her neighbors, and they say, oh, well, hey, we made extra too, so here, you have this. And it becomes
a general share.
Right. It becomes a general share between, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 30 families in that neighborhood. And it was a really neat thing to see. It really was.
I wish that would happen a little more often.
Oh, man, it would be good.
Yeah.
If this is what you have and this is your talent, share it. But that comes back to law of consecration and living all as one. And that tends to fall apart when people get selfish, which is stupid, and so therefore people are stupid. But
yep.
Either way.
We're all stupid to some degree.
Yeah, on something in some way.
Yep.
So, we've talked about marriage and divorce. Don't make a man a slave, and be sure to live up to your pledges and return them when necessary, and all of the other things. This was a good set of laws that are honestly something we should be doing today.
Yeah.
That's why so much of the law of Moses is not dead. It's merely fulfilled. I love things like this that clarify just general life. It's really cool. Okay.
Yeah, don't blame a parent for your son going to rob a bank. Something like that. If the son's choice was to rob the bank without your input, then the son is the one who gets in trouble, not you. That's an extreme case, to be fair, but...
Now, also to be fair, if the family raised him in an abusive way and or they were already bank robbers, we might want to look at how everybody's living. But then we could, do whatever. But different thing.
Depending on the circumstances and the context,
right.
Be careful how you judge.
Right. And again, don't what was the word? Mess up judgment. Don't bribe. Don't change judgment.
Don't try to make judgment.
Manipulate.
Yeah, that's the word.
That's probably the best word. Anyhow, tomorrow we go into more laws about punishments, marriage, and weights and measures, which is a really cool thing.
Quote from Jesus: "If you do not judge, but if you must judge, judge righteously."
Yes, absolutely. Do not judge unrighteous judgment. Very good.
Bye.
Bye.